Welcome to A Toast to Truth, where we share our experiences dealing with emotional, mental, and or financial frustrations in business. Has anyone said you look like an angry black woman? This is the last episode 12 of Season 2. And today I have a very, very special guest co-host, Donna L. Johnson at donnaspeaks.com. Most of you know her at Call Her Donna Online. And I want to welcome Donna to the episode. Thank you, Donna, for joining and being our last guest for this season.
I am truly honored to be here, Vernetta. Thank you so much. You've done a great job of producing and promoting your podcast, and I am extremely excited to be here with you.
Thank you. And I always, before we get into the episode, I always like to tell people how I know my special guest co-host. Well, Donna and I met on probably my favorite site, Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how we happened to cross, but we crossed paths, and we have been like Twitter friends for years, and we finally met in person. I was co-hosting a meetup before Blogging While Brown in 2015 when it was in Austin, and Donna came to the meetup, so we finally met in person. Now, mind you, we live like 2 hours away, okay?
Pitiful.
I live in Houston, and she lives in Austin, so we're like 2 hours away, but it took like several years before we finally met in person. But I can say that kind of solidified our friendship. It was like she recognized me in the parking lot because I kept looking. I was like, she looks so familiar, but I was like so sick that night. I was like drowning in a head cold or something. I don't know. But she recognized me in the parking lot, and then we just hit it off straight there. So I was so happy to meet a Twitter friend, you know, in person and to be able to connect and say she is the same online and offline. It is, you know, really the truth. I like when people are the same offline and online. So before we get into today's episode, I want us to pop some bubbly. We are going to share, you know, just something that we're excited about that's happening right now in our business. So I will go first. Okay, so my popping bubbly moment is I don't allow other people's expectations or perceptions of how they think I should be dictate my life. And if you have listened to every episode in Season 1 and Season 2, you will understand why that is my popping bubbly moment, that I no longer allow other people's perceptions and expectations dictate how I'm going to live the life that I want to live. So that's my popping bubbly moment. What about you, Donna?
You know, Vernetta, I think that right there is just worth popping the whole bottle. Like if people could just really, if women could really just grasp that and truly live by it, they really would see a different level of freedom, a completely different level of freedom. So I applaud you for that. And for your listeners, you know, I hope that you follow in Vernetta's footsteps and do the exact same thing that she's doing.
Because you don't even know you're in bondage until you really come to grips with knowing who you are and just accepting that and like, you know, this is how it's going to be. You either like it or you don't. And it's such a freeing feeling. Like you really don't know that you put yourself in bondage by living against other people's expectations and perceptions.
Yeah, and that's a hard word for people to acknowledge and swallow, you know, is bondage. That's a really, really hard word, you know, for people to embrace, but that's really what it is.
It is. So, okay, so let's let Donna share hers because we're, like, already talking about stuff.
Okay, first of all, Vernetta, let me say, okay, so when you sent over, the kind of, like the framework for how, the show was going to go. When I thought that we were going to have a popping, bubbly moment, I actually thought that we were going to actually pop something. So I have my 7-Up poured in my cute glass. So I just wanted to share that because
you're not the first guest to have something to drink next to you. They're like, oh, I have something to drink.
Yes, I have my 7-Up poured in my cute glass. So I just needed to go ahead and just let that be known. For me, my popping bubbly moment is really, really special because the girl, for those of you who have been following me online, for some time, that's, my online name for my daughter. She just turned 22 not too long ago, and a few months ago she came to me and she told me that she wanted us to work together, and she had the entire concept laid out. She had all of the equipment that we were going to need, the prices of everything, and that blew me away.
Wow.
And so
you rubbed off on your daughter.
What did you say, babe?
You rubbed off on your daughter. She's seen you in action.
Yes, and she's watching, she's involved, but I never pressure her to go directly in my footsteps per se. I make it clear to both of my kids that they're extremely talented kids, extremely talented, and I would love to see them, do something on their own creatively in an entrepreneurial space, but I never force feed that down their throats. So as you stated, because she's looking at me and she's thinking about the things that I've said to her, she's now ready. She is now ready. And like I said, she came with a full-blown concept, everything laid out. So I'm really looking forward to, to she and I doing that together. And I would love to come back and give you an update once we get things going.
Oh, definitely. That's a great way to end our season 2. For those who've been listening season 1 and all of season 2, to be able to, see the next generation take initiative, to kind of jump out on their own, or jump off the cliff. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm like, why is this word sitting on my tongue? And I see the image in my mind. But to jump off the cliff, and it's funny because I was talking to my grandfather about my podcast, and he's all proud and everything, and he's like, you're built for this. You could take risks. You could do it. And he's so funny. I actually Skyped him right before I did this recording with Donna, and because I'm like trying to practice Skype on my phone. I'm not a tech person. Now, mind you, I'm a blogger, podcaster, but I'm not a tech person. So I'm sitting here trying to practice Skype with my grandfather. But just to have family who supports you, or who even follows in your footsteps, that is something that definitely, if you've been listening to season 1, season 2, that's kind of what we're talking about. Our theme for season 2 is your weakness as your breakthrough. And so that definitely leads into, our topic today. I'm not angry, I'm ambitious. I didn't give the topic because I was so excited to get into introducing the guest, but our topic today is I'm not angry, I'm ambitious. Because as an African-American woman, Black woman, however you want to label yourself, if you're not walking around with a big, huge smile on your face, they automatically label you as angry, which I don't understand. Because sometimes I could be thinking, or I could be cramping, I know that could have been TMI, but let's be real here. Sometimes you're just not in the mood to smile. So I was working at this college, and I'm not giving the name of the college, but it's been woven throughout several of the episodes this season. And I asked one of the male co-workers, one of the other instructors who happens to be African-American, and I pulled him to the side, and I said, do I look like an angry Black woman? He was like, well, yeah, you do. And I just looked at him, and he said, because you don't smile, you're very serious all the time. And I said, why do I need to smile at these students? They're here to learn. I'm not here to be their friend. he's like, it wouldn't hurt to smile every once in a while. And I was like, whatever. It wasn't a big deal. But if y'all listen to the episode with Shayla, I think that was like episode 6 where I talked about that experience at the college. Go back to episode 6. But anyway, so what I ended up doing, I didn't really smile, Donna. I was not going to change my persona just because that's what he thought.
Mm-hmm.
That lesson was not learned. However, I was on the phone between classes talking to someone, and I let out this huge laugh. And the campus director came by, and he was like, that's the first time I've seen you ever smile. And I just looked at him, and I closed the door, and I finished my conversation. That smile was not for you.
I cannot even imagine you telling somebody that.
It was not for him. Episode 6, I explained why I said that to him because, he thought he was familiar with me and called me by my first name instead of Miss Franny. And I was like, we're not cool like that. So.
Wow.
Yeah, so what I want people to understand is sometimes people don't smile because they have other things going on in their mind. It's not that they're angry. Or on the flip side, that's why I also put on there, I'm ambitious. When I'm determined to do something or I'm in the mindset to get something done, I'm not in the mindset to smile at everybody who comes my way.
Right.
I'm like focused. And so that has also come off as, oh, she's angry. But I'm like, but what am I angry about? Like, I'm so perplexed because I don't see anger. I have a goal in mind, and I'm trying to get towards that goal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So for me, I like to laugh. I mean, if y'all listen to the podcast, I laugh in probably every episode. I laugh at my own jokes. I like to laugh. So I'm not an angry person by any means. I just don't like to smile at people I don't like. Or if I'm thinking about something, I'm not going to look at you and like, oh, I should smile so that they don't think I'm an angry Black woman.
And
so,
I can certainly
go ahead,
relate
Donna.
to all of that, Vernetta. Like, when I saw the show topics that we could choose from, I was happy to see this topic and that no one had chosen it because it was something that I wanted to talk about because it's something that I have experienced my entire life. Like, just hearing what you're saying, it echoes like my life and my interactions with people. But for me though, Bernetta, it's like strangers. It's like you don't even know me.
Right.
And you automatically, assume that just because I have this expression on my face that, I'm angry or I'm not approachable. But just like you said, I love to laugh. I rarely smile. Like, rarely do I smile, but I have, like, the ugliest, loudest laugh you would ever want to hear, and I laugh all the time. But
I don't think smiling and laughing are have to go together, and people may confuse that. It's like people put simple and easy together. Simple and easy are not one and the same. They're not
right.
interchangeable. So laughing and smiling, in my mind, are not interchangeable.
Apples and oranges to me.
Yes.
Apples and oranges.
I agree.
Completely not the same whatsoever. And, it's, I've told this story before where I went to a career counselor probably back in the mid-2000s because I wanted to find out, like, why do I get bored so easily? Like, after 3 years on a job, I'm bored. Like, I've kind of, like, hit the plateau of learning.
You last way longer than me. I'm about 3.
I've hit the ceiling of what I can, learn and kind of like be excited about. So basically, I'm sitting there with the gentleman, and he's telling me, he said, you know what? He said, you are very intimidating. He said, and I'm a man. He said, so can you imagine how insecure women feel in your presence? And, my immediate response to him was, that's not my problem. Like, I don't mean to sound insincere, but that's not my problem. And so I'm not going to walk around with this cheerleader face painted over who I really am to make other people feel comfortable. I'm just not.
That is my philosophy too. I'm going to be comfortable no matter what. I'm sorry if it makes you uncomfortable. I can't make myself uncomfortable to make you, to make you comfortable. That is my philosophy. I totally relate to that.
And I will, Renetta, you know this, I will do anything and everything that I can to help someone that's true to my personality and true to who I am. And
it is, y'all. It really is. Because I called her about Periscope, how to do emojis or something on Periscope.
Just whatever it is, whatever it is that I can possibly help anyone with. I will do anything and everything that I can within the realm of who I really am. And I'm just not, I am not the captain of the cheerleader squad. That's just not my personality, to just walk around with spirit fingers in the air all day. Like you said, I am in deep thought anytime I'm awake. And I'm not exaggerating. Anytime I am awake, I am in deep thought. I remember the first time one of my friend's moms met me, and after I left, she said, her mom asked her, she said, does she look that serious all the time? Was something wrong? And she was like, no, Mama, that's just how she is. She's like, that's just how she is. She is super fun. She is super goofy, but that is just how, how she is. And I can't explain it. We can stay on the phone until this time next week. I just really could not explain it.
You and I are like spirit animals or something, because that is so my story. I'm like, my sister's husband was like, does she not like me? And my sister's like, who? Because I just don't smile. And it's not that I don't like to smile. I just don't smile at people. I even had a guy I was dating saying, you can be a little intimidating to people. And I'm just looking at him like, you're a former football player. You look like you could take me if we got into it, but I'm pretty sure I could hold my own. But you say I'm intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
But you say I'm intimidating. But his thing was, he explained it. He was like, you know what you want, and you say it, and then you go for it. He was like, people aren't like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've never met a woman like that. And I'm like, but if I want something, why should I pretend I don't want it to appease you? If I say I want this, that's what I want.
Why should I downplay it,
Exactly.
And reduce it to
wow.
something that it ends up being something that I don't want in order to make you, in order to make you feel comfortable. I'm just not spending my time that way. I'm just really, I'm just really not. So there's this misconception that ambition is synonymous with anger, and anyone who is softer, they're less ambitious. And that's just not the case. I mean, there's just some stupid stereotypes that just really, really and truly need to be broken. And unfortunately, like you said in the beginning of the show, black women, we take the brunt of it for the most part. I mean, we are the poster children of being angry
black or whatever.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a book, and I had to get up and go get it because, it's called Shifting the Double Lives of Black Women in America. And I finished this book. It was powerful. It took me a while to finish it because it's not one of those easily digestible type of books.
Mm-hmm.
It's research-based, but it's stories woven in. And the reason I brought that book up is because it talked about how black women have to shift when we're in different environments. If we're in corporate America, we have to shift and speak standard English, and we have to make it as if we're carrying the whole black race on our shoulders to prove we're not lazy, ignorant, or whatever stereotype that people have of us. And then when we're in the black community, if we speak too proper, we're not black enough, or if we're this, and then it talks about the church, and it talks about dealing with mental illness, and I mean, it was and I just sat there, I was like, have I gone through everything that they talked about in all 10 chapters or whatever in this book? But my reason for doing this particular episodes, and I was so glad, Donna wanted to do this one because it's a hard topic for people to talk about. It's a hard topic for people to admit that that's how they stereotype. They may not want to say it to someone's face, but they post it online. They say it behind people's back, and that's the perception that they give to others about someone else. So sometimes, we as Black women can walk into a situation not even knowing that someone has already said, oh, she's angry because she never smiles, without them ever getting the chance to know us. I'm an introvert. So my whole life I've been called stuck up and snobbish because I don't associate with a lot of people. It's not that I don't want to. Well, okay, it is because I don't want to, but but it's not that I don't like you. It's just I reserve my energy for people I really like.
Yeah.
So if you're not in that really like circle, I'm not going to waste my time having a conversation with you.
Yeah.
And I told people, I'm like, for 2016, if you're not in my phone, we're not really going to have energy going between us.
Yeah.
And they were like, am I in your phone? I'm like, I text you, right? You in my phone then. But I did it because I was giving everything to everyone, but I wasn't getting filled up myself.
Yeah.
And so there's this saying that someone told me, and I love it. She was like, I don't give from my I don't give from the overflow of my cup. I give from the overflow of my saucer. And for those who aren't tea drinkers, because I'm not a tea drinker, but the saucer is what your cup sits on. It's what's supposed to catch the spillover or whatever. Excuse me. So if you're spilling over, then whatever lands on your saucer is what you give, not what's in your cup. That way you never have to fill up yourself. So when I was told that, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. So then I made the announcement, if you're not in my phone, I can't give you energy. Nothing against you. I just have to protect myself. So, yeah, it could have come off as me being angry or me being standoffish or whatever the case may be. But it also protects me because I have a goal this year. I have my journal. I have the podcast. I'm also over the Houston African American Bloggers Association. So to actually establish a membership association, that's a lot of work. So I'm ambitious. I have a lot of projects going on. I'm going to Haiti on a mission trip. So to plan all of this, I don't really have time to smile at people. I don't really have time to give energy to a whole lot of people when I have so much going on that I'm working on. So I'm ambitious, and I'm using all of my energy to make sure that everything I've agreed to do gets done extremely well, because I don't want it to flop.
Exactly. And Vanessa, the fact that we as women have to make this a part of the dialogue, it solidifies, it drives home the fact that this really is something that women face. They just don't talk about it. Because I doubt
even know how to face it.
Yeah, that there's a podcast episode anywhere where men are trying to have to explain, defend, whatever word you want to attach to that, why their level of ambition is the way that it is. As you were talking about your circle and keeping your circle lean, that's something that my mother instilled in me from a very, very young age. A very, very young age, as far as really identifying, who your friends are, and understanding that different people are going to come into your life for different seasons, different reasons. Those people are going to leave. You're going to have maybe a handful of people who are going to really be there for you the way that you need for them to be, and you need to have the energy to be able to be there for those people. And so for that reason, you really need to reserve yourself, not just for yourself, but so that you can give back to this select group of people the same way that they're giving to you. But men don't have to have, this. It's not a problem when they practice this in their lives. It's just a given that they're focused. It's never a question about being angry. It's just a given that they're providing. It's never, a question of being out of balance, professionally and personally. And so I always let it be known that if I were a man, I would not have to have this conversation. I mean, I know that probably sounded a little bit redundant, but I just want people, to know that the fact that we have to have this conversation, it really does mean that, that the dialogue really does need to, to take place. And not from the standpoint of trying to justify, who we are, but I do believe that part of my role in this world is to be a voice to the voiceless, and I do know that there are women who feel the same way that you and I feel, and hopefully after they listen to us today that they will have a little bit more courage and a little bit more confidence to just walk in whatever personality it is that God has blessed them with, and accept that. And once they start to do that, genuinely be who they are, whatever that looks like, that's when things, will start to take off for them, be it personally, professionally, spiritually, whatever the case may be. But as long as you're denying yourself the opportunity to be who God created you to be, you're never going to get what he has in store for you.
That's good, because that goes back to, I think it's episode 8, episode 8, where we talked about who you are versus what you do. And the reason, for those who don't know me, I'm very, very methodical on everything I do. Everything has to have a purpose. I just do not randomly select topics that we're going to talk about in the podcast. The reason I had who you are versus what you do, every time someone introduces me or I'm introduced to someone, it's always their accomplishments, what they do. And I'm like, but that has nothing to do with who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they can't answer that question because they're like, well, I'm the CEO of this. And I'm like, but that's not who you are. That's what you do. So who are you? And, what Donna just said, a lot of people just don't know. That's why they can't walk in the freedom that I'm feeling right now, because I just don't care. If people think I'm angry, I don't have time to worry about your perception of me, because I like me, and I like I like waking up comfortable, and I like waking up, happy and in peaceful state of mind, and not worried about, oh my God, is Donna upset that I posted this on Facebook? I mean, like, I don't care, and it may come off rude to some people, but I genuinely don't care if you like what I said or didn't say. Now, on the flip side, excuse me, I'm not going to dismiss your feelings if it's something that hurt you, but if it's a general statement or something general, I'm not going to take the time to sit there and pacify your emotions.
Exactly.
If it's something specific to you and I'm calm enough to have the conversation, I've learned I can't have a conversation with someone that I'm pissed at until I'm calm. Because if I'm pissed at them, I'm going to say exactly how I feel, And that doesn't always go over because I come off strong. I come off as very direct. Like my business best friend, she says I'm Diane from Blackish. I said, what's that supposed to be? She's like, she's so direct on the show. And so, we laugh every time I'm, venting to her about someone. She was like, oh, Lord, Diane. But I say all that to say, we as women can't apologize for who we are. We can't apologize for wanting to be successful, for wanting to succeed in life. But another thing we as women often don't do, we don't define what success looks like to us.
Mm-hmm.
But we
let other people define it for us and then get upset with ourselves, for not defining it for ourselves and trying to live up to what it is that other people think that we should be. And then
we're quick to go after other people's success. like, okay, say for example, if Donna was like this big-time international consultant, okay, and instead of being happy for Donna, I'm like, I don't know who she thinks she is. Why is she doing that? She's just the little girl from Texas. You know, the only reason women do that is because they haven't defined their own success and they don't know who they are. So it's easier to be upset at someone else who's walking in their purpose, who's living their purpose. So all these people who are talking about haters, 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 it's not so much haters. These people are just very confused.
I will say this, Vanetta. Even at the level that I am now, I experienced that same thing. I experienced people questioning, well, who does she think she is to motivate somebody? Who does she think she is to empower, you know, somebody? And I just kind of, you know, look at it from the standpoint of you're not a part of my audience. I'm not speaking to you. This is not for you.
And some people can't take that.
I don't ever have to try to convince someone of who I am. Because as you stated, when you met me in person, I'm the same. That alone. Every time that happens to me, Vanetta, and you would not believe, well, you know, because we've talked about it, the number of people that I've met actually online, that I've had the opportunity to meet in person, there's not been one single person who has just stopped and said, oh, my goodness, you're the same person here in front of me as you are online. And I'm like, I don't have time to try to falsify my tweets. Like, I don't like that.
You'll be amazed how many people do that online, though. Oh, and what gets me, this is totally off topic, when I meet somebody offline who are connected online and they don't look nothing like their picture. And I'm just sitting there having a conversation and they calling me by first name and we just talking and I'm like, who are you? And they're like, oh, I'm so-and-so. And I'm just looking. And then I go back and look at their picture. I'm like, no, I was duped.
And for me,
totally off topic.
No, that's okay. The greatest feeling in the world is for someone who I have exchanged tweets with for the past 6 or 7 years to meet me in person. And after a few minutes of talking to that person, that's what they feel compelled to tell me. So when I have, different people coming at me, questioning what it is that I'm doing, I don't put a whole lot of thought into that, if any. I reflect and I embrace the people who are there, doing the same thing, for me. Those are the people that I'm talking to. I'm not here to try to convince anybody of anything. I'm not here to try to win anybody over. I'm not here to try to acquire a certain number of followers. I am here to do what it is that I have been called to do, and that is genuinely be myself, share my experiences with the hopes of helping someone else who's been in my shoes.
We're going to stop and take a sip because Donna said something that I want us to pick back up after the break. And the question I'm going to ask when we come back from the break is, how did you learn how to be comfortable with yourself? Because I've gotten that question. So we're going to stop and take a sip, and then we're going to come back with Donna so we can talk about how you became comfortable with being yourself. Ready to face the truth in your business? Schedule a truth power session. I act as your sounding board, giving you feedback, critiques, suggestions, while teaching you how to mentally detox using journaling. Go to VanettaRFrainey.com/truthconfidant. And don't forget to pre-order your The Truth Confidant Journal. Okay, so I'm going to bring Donna. Donna's going to come back, and I want her to answer this because the crazy thing is I've gotten this question as well. How do you get to the point where you're comfortable being yourself?
For me, Vernetta, this is just who my mother raised me to be. That's the best answer. That's the honest answer. Is that this person is who I was raised to be. There was never an option of pretending to be anyone other than myself. This is just something that has been instilled in me since I can remember. That no matter who rejects you, the one thing that you can always hold on to is being who you really are. And when you do that, it doesn't matter who rejects you. What matters is the people who see what's in you, and those are the people that you want to be with.
That's okay. So for those who weren't raised that way, because in another episode, I think it was episode 3, because we were talking about makeup was brought up into that conversation, and I was saying I don't wear makeup a lot, but when I do, I like bright colors. I like red. I like red popping lips, and because I was like, I'm very comfortable with my big lips and my wide nose. I'm very comfortable with my features, and in our house, my mom celebrated our features, and in fact, I always wanted to be a little bit bigger because, like, my mom and my aunts, they all have these curves, and I'm sitting here like, I thought that's what beauty was. I had no idea beauty was like the skinny person, like, that wasn't my vision of beauty growing up. My vision of beauty was what my mom and my aunts are. So, so when people were like, how are you comfortable being yourself? I'm like, I'm lazy. Like, that is the God's honest truth. I am too lazy to pretend to be anything else. Like, if I'm having a conversation with you, that's energy I have to muster up.
Yeah.
So I don't have time to think of a lie. I don't have time to pretend to put on airs. I'm lazy. So when people are like, how do you just say what's on your mind? I'm not saying what's on my mind to get attention or to make someone feel bad. I'm lazy. I don't have time in my mind to think of anything else to say but what I need to say and move on. So I don't know if that helps people, because Donna and I, we had that instilled in us from an early age. But for those women who may not have had that instilled, my suggestion to you is to take time to get to know what you like. I had to do that. What does Vernetta like to do? What makes me happy? What do I like to do if I have no one else around me?
Can I interrupt you right there?
Oh, okay, yeah. Aha moment, go ahead.
Let me interrupt you right there, because that is what my suggestion was going to be. For those, and I'm mindful of people who weren't raised, the way that I was. For people, I saw strength in women. That's all I saw was strength. And so, of course, this is where this comes from. So then you have my daughter who, she was raised by a strong woman, and, so she has those same, characteristics, in her. But here's the one thing that I would suggest is that women need to learn how to spend time alone.
Yes.
You don't always have to be booed up with somebody. You don't always have to be on a girlfriend's retreat and a girls' night out.
Or brunch.
You have to become comfortable by yourself in order to figure out who you are. And as long as you're surrounding yourself, with other people and keeping yourself, preoccupied and busy, you never really get a chance to face and answer those questions, that you put out there. You never really get to give yourself an opportunity to sit down and answer those hard questions. Outside of what I do, who am I really?
And God's honest truth, and I know this is probably an inflated number, but I think 99% of the world, they don't know who they are because, and depending on the country, they may not even have time to sit down and contemplate that. But us here in America or other industrialized countries, that is why I advocate for journaling. That is why I'm educating people on journaling, because journaling to me is the mind talking to the thoughts, because I don't think they're one and the same. So this gives you a chance to really kind of look at yourself outside of yourself and see, oh, my God, I was thinking that way. Why was I thinking that way? What makes me think that way? Why am I allowing myself to think that way? Why do I like that? Is it because I dated this guy and he liked it? Mm-hmm. Do I even like this? Do I want to do this? Is this how, and this was something else that I had to speak to my mother about. Just because I was raised a certain way, I don't have all the same beliefs.
Exactly.
Of how I was raised. And my mom and we've had conversations about it. And my mom is a very progressive mom. Like I was in middle school wearing stiletto boots, dressing like the Mod Squad people, like like my mom is very progressive. But she understands that I'm very, very independent thinking. She's like, I don't know how all my kids got to be independent thinking like that. Y'all are not anything what I thought you would be. But she's like, her life wouldn't be any other way. But just because you were raised a certain way doesn't mean you can't challenge those beliefs.
Your beliefs.
Doesn't mean you can't go out and search and see why you believe that way. I was raised in a Southern Baptist church. I don't believe everything in the Southern Baptist, belief system, and it doesn't mean it doesn't mean I don't believe in God. I had to understand that I had to develop my own relationship with God, and and when I explain to people the relationship I have, some people are taken aback because I'm like, I talk to God as if I'm talking to a friend. Mm-hmm. I'm having a very, very direct conversation. Mm-hmm. I'm not, speaking in tongues and hoo-hawing or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. I'm like, why did this happen? What did I do? What led to this? What were the actions I did? So I'm having a very deep conversation so that I can start unraveling what's going on in my life. But as women, and that's why I brought up that book, Shifting, we have a hard time letting go of tradition.
Yeah.
And
or even just giving ourselves the opportunity to try to figure out if this is something I still believe in today, and if so, why.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Free and clear of, whatever, free, because, again, I give my mother a ton of credit, for raising me for how I am. But, Vernetta, to be completely honest with you, there are some behaviors that I had to unlearn.
Oh, yeah.
From my experiences growing up, right?
I think a lot of people have to do that.
Yeah.
No offense to parents.
Yeah, but there,
no offense to parents.
Yeah, there are some behaviors that when you start to practice self-awareness, because really that's what we're talking about. Yeah. You can label it ambition. You can put whatever label you want to put on it. But when you really start to practice self-awareness, and it doesn't have to be from this, extremely deep PhD level philosophical textbook way, but just truly understanding and wanting to know who you are, part of that involves unlearning some things.
Yeah.
So that you can then come to know your truest self.
And that's going to be emotional. So I want people to be prepared. Like, if you do not know how to embrace your emotions, it's going to be a very, very scary, not challenging, but a scary process. For me, I was always told by other people that if you cry, it's a sign of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And, my father was that way, but my mom was the opposite. She knew if I was crying, I was ready to fight someone. So she was always trying to calm me down. You know, she was trying to calm me down. But, you know, they're like, Black women, we have to be strong. We can't cry at work. I was a teacher, and if someone ticked me off, I would sit there and cry. And all the teachers knew it, and they would get up because they were like, we don't want to disturb Miss Freeney right now. And they would they would leave me alone. I'm not ashamed if I cry. I'm not ashamed if I get upset. I'm going to let that emotion happen right there in that moment because I'm not going to be passive-aggressive days later on the situation. I'm going to let that moment happen, and then I'm going to address the situation when I'm ready. But I'm not going to sit there and hold something over someone's head because I've been there, and I've done that. And it doesn't just hurt the other person, but it eats at you. Yeah. It eats at your soul, at your spirit. And so, you know, for those who are like, I have to answer this question, why? You need to be prepared for that emotional roller coaster. You need to be prepared because it may reveal some things that you thought you were over or that you thought you overcame or something you never even addressed because you wanted to suppress it. So that is something that I don't know if I talked about it in season 1 or season 2, but I've addressed it before. You can't be successful in business if your personal life is a mess. Yeah. Because your personal drama will spill over into your professional life. Trust me, I know. It has happened to me on more than one occasion.
And especially, you know, for those of us who are, you know, solo independent business owners. It's impossible, you know, and I tweeted that, you know, a while back that you cannot get your business off the ground until you get your life off the ground. Some people are trying to figure out why aren't their businesses at a level or at a stage that they feel like they should be at. Well, look at where you are in your life outside of that. True. It's a direct reflection of, you know, of where, you know, of where you are. Going back to that whole learned, you know, behavior and unlearning, you know, Vernetta, there were some things that I had to tell myself, you know, that, okay, Donna, look, it's, you know, great. We understand. You're this strong, ambitious, confident woman, yada, yada, yada. But it's okay for people to see a softer side of you.
Oh, my God, I had to learn that, too.
It's okay for people. That doesn't mean you're weak. Doesn't mean you're a pushover. It is
That's
okay.
That's exactly my thought. I thought it would make me weak.
It's okay for people to see a softer side of you. So while I don't have to work at being, you know, this super tenacious person that I am, that's not something that I have to work at. I have to put in work, Vernetta, at being kinder, at being softer. I have to work at, you know, smiling at a stranger even though I may not feel like it because I'm looking at somebody and they're looking like they're having a bad day and nobody has probably ever given them a compliment in their entire life. And so, again, I feel like it's my duty and my responsibility to lift that person up. And part of that, you know, involves me going and taking the initiative to go over and, you know, trying to drop some kind of cheer and inspiration in that person's ear to hopefully for them to have an experience with me just through a compliment, a conversation, whatever the case may be, that they'll be able to take with them and reflect on for the rest of their lives. And I know that probably sounds kind of like she and out there, but that's my intention every time I talk to somebody that I don't know. And I make it a point every day to say something to a complete stranger that I do not know that hopefully it will brighten their day in some kind of way.
I like that, and I'm going to say you keep doing that because we need people like that. Because this introvert is in and out of stores, in and out of play. I'm not trying to have conversations with strangers. Now, on the flip side, if they stop me, I will talk to them. You know, I've had people, you know, and it's funny because, like, I have a very, very strong spirit of discernment. Like, literally within 3 seconds of someone being around me, like, I already know if they're good or bad. Don't ask me how much
what their motives and intentions are.
Yes, and it's like they've never even opened their mouth, but I know. And so some people are like, well, you don't seem to like so and so, and I'm like, it's not that I don't like them. I just know they're not going to be good for me.
Mhm.
You don't even know them. I don't have to know them. Spirit already said we're not working. You know, it's not going to work out. And every time I don't listen, drama and chaos.
Yes.
Are like so. It is so crazy. And so when I had Women Are Game Changers, I was always trying to help people.
Yeah.
I was always, you know, because the name of the company was Women Are Game Changers. So I'm thinking I have to be nice to all the women, and I have to support all these women. And I'm sitting here spending buku money supporting all these women businesses, driving all over, flying all over the country for 3 straight years, supporting people, participating, doing all of this stuff. And when I really thought about it, I'm like, some of these women weren't even worth my time because Spirit said they weren't good for me.
Mm-hmm.
However, I wasn't listening to it because I was trying to be this whole support women, we have to stick together, but I wasn't receiving that in return. So that's what led to my burnout and frustration with Women Are Game Changers, because they wanted me to be their cheerleader, and I didn't want to be their cheerleader. But at that time, I was living for their expectation.
Right.
I was living because I'm like, well, they're my customers, and I must appease them, and I must do this for them, and I must, you know, if they want something, I have to go and deliver. No, I don't. You know,
mm-hmm.
This is what I offer. So now when people are, like, all in my inbox asking for stuff, and I'm like, do you even know what you want? Because I can't refer you to someone if you don't know what you want.
You don't know
because
what you
want. Because I know I'm not the one for you. Now, I will refer you, but I can't refer you unless you know what you want. So people are asking me, I mean, even to this day, I message almost 2,000 people on LinkedIn to let them know I'm no longer doing social media strategy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone responds in that same message to me and was like, I need someone to do my social media. I wanted so bad to respond. Can you read? Because I just said I stopped doing that. So, literally, had it been maybe a year ago, I would have taken that client.
Yeah.
I would have definitely said, okay, yeah, I'll do it, even though I didn't want to do it, and I would have begrudgingly done it. But now I'm in the place of, if I say I'm not doing it anymore, I'm not
then you're not doing
it.
Yeah, you're not
anymore.
doing it.
And I don't have to explain why I'm not doing it. And you know, that's something else, Donna, that we didn't even have time to touch on. But why is it that when you know, people feel you have to explain something and you say, well, I don't need to explain myself, that's like an angry moment. They think you're angry. They're like, why? And I'm thinking to myself, why should I? You know?
Yeah.
I said
it's
no.
It's like no is a complete sentence.
It is. I'm thinking,
I
why
live
do I
by
have
that.
to give
No
you
is a complete sentence.
I mean, why do we have to give you a dissertation on no? If someone tells me no, I'm like, okay. And then they're like, don't you want to know? I'm like, no, I don't need to convince you. If you said no, I'm not wasting my time convincing you to change your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now if you're sitting there like, well, I was like, that's different. That's an opening.
Mm-hmm.
But if you flat out say no, okay, whatever, I'm going to move on. If I tell you no and you keep asking me why, you're going to get an attitude that you've probably never seen from anybody. And
you know,
that will let you
know. I am extremely, extremely blessed and happy to have been blessed with not having the people pleaser gene in my DNA. Like,
yeah, that's in my DNA, and I had to fight
that's
it.
I think, and that's what made me think about that. That's where all of this stems from. From women, is that, yes, we have this nurturing aspect about us, innately. That's my belief, innately. But when it spills over into that people-pleasing spectrum,
mm-hmm.
that's where women will find themselves in trouble, because they will go and do and do and do and do and do. And then they're angry.
Themselves.
Yeah, and then they're angry because they're not getting a fraction back of what they're putting out and giving to other people. And then that just starts a snowball effect of other emotions and things like that. When if you just sit back and look at the root of it, it all started with your need to feel validated and the need for you to please.
And that's what my therapist said. She was like, because I was venting to her, and I'm like, she's this older Chinese lady. She's very funny, but she's very direct. And I needed someone who wasn't going to coddle me, to help me get through stuff. And so she said, "Did they ask you for that?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" She was like, "Did they ask you to do all this stuff you're doing for them?" And I'm like, "No, but they need it." She was like, "Who said they needed it? You?"
You said,
and I was like, "Well, yeah." And she said, "So you're mad at them for doing something you wanted to do for them that they never asked you to do." And I just sat there. I was like, "So what does that mean?" I mean, I knew what it meant, but I was just like, "What are you saying?" She said, "If people do not ask you for help, don't help." If someone, like this guy I was dating, and I was always trying to help him, and he was like, "I didn't ask you to do all this stuff." And I'm like, "But don't you need the help?" He was like, "But I did not ask you to do this." And that's when it clicked what my therapist said. Oh, so now I'm to the point, if someone asks me to do something, then I say yes or no. If they don't ask me, then I do not offer.
And do you know what, Bernetta? That is how I operate on a daily basis.
I had to learn that.
That is how I operate. That is how I operate on a daily basis. We are all
that's one of those unlearned things.
If
that's
you
one of those
need something from me, you need to come over here. I don't have time to be reading no signals in between no lines and no passive-aggressive type body language. But
yeah, that was an unlearned thing that I had to do. My mom is the person everybody leans on. Family, friends, everybody leans on my mom. And I'm very protective of her. Like, I will even go off on her sisters if I feel that they're taking advantage of her. And I don't care. I don't care who you are. I don't care if that's your sister. That's my mom. I trump you. I trump you. But I had to learn that I had inherited that from her, because when I looked back and going through the therapy and really understanding everything, I was the rock for so many people. And I didn't realize that I was just going to the point where I literally had a nervous breakdown. And I didn't know where it came from, because I'm sitting here like, I knew I had a lot of stuff going on. I knew I had a lot on my plate, but I just didn't know how much until I had that breakdown. And when I started going to the therapy session, and she was really working with that, and she kept saying, "Why are you doing this?" And I'm like, "But they need me." And she said, "Are they going to die without you?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know." And so little by little, I would tell people, "No, I can't do that." Guess what? They found someone else to do it. They still survived without me. So it was something I really had to unlearn. So when Donna mentioned, sometimes we have to unlearn things, I had to learn I can't be the rock for everyone. I mean, it wasn't easy, because when people...
Because it comes at your expense. And for you, it truly came at the expense of your mental health.
Yeah, but and not only that, is the fact that when so many people are dependent on you and you start telling them, "Oh, I can't do this for you anymore," then it's a whole nother battle that you're fighting, because it's like they've become so dependent on you that now they're having to stand on their own 2 feet. It's almost like, what are you doing this to me for? So then you're having to say, no, it's not about you. It's about me. And it took a while. It took a while for family. It took a while for friends. It took a while for a lot of people. But I can honestly say, now I'm to the point where people know Bernetta's going to say yes or no. If she says no, leave it alone. Like there's no compromising. There's no, "Oh, well, maybe she'll change her mind." No. It was a process I had to go through. But I'm so glad when you said that unlearn, because I was like trying to think of, I know I've had to unlearn things, but that's one thing I think a majority of women have to do. We have to stop being the rock for everybody else, because they're going to continue to live. They're going to continue to go about their life. They're not going to die. They're not going to fall into a state of despair. If they do, refer them to a therapist,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you have to live your life, because now that I'm at my healthiest mentally, that I've been in like over 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to freely give good vibes to people.
Yeah.
I'm able to, people enjoy being around me now. You know, my siblings enjoy being around me because they were my whipping post when I would get frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you always take it out on the people you care about or the ones you're closest to the most. So that meant the guy I was dating and my family, my immediate family, they were my whipping post.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I'm about tired of you talking to me like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm so frustrated. He was like, you have to stop. So it's just these things that now they enjoy being around me because I'm no longer frustrated with life. I'm no longer feel like it's so much on my plate. And my mom and I, we talk almost every day. And she'll ask me, she's like, have you taken on too much yet? And I'm like, what do you mean? Because, you know, like I stated earlier, I have the mission trip. I have the association. We have our blog boot camp. I have the podcast. I have the journal. I teach ESL. You know, I have all this stuff. And she's like, have you taken on too much? She's always asking to make sure that I know my cap.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'm like, but I'm like, you know, the trip to Haiti is just, you know, it's in September. After September, I'm through with that. So
Yeah.
I knew I committed to X amount of months. After that, I don't have to worry about it anymore. The podcast, instead of doing it every week or whatever all year long, I decided to do seasons so I can group it, so I can, you know, schedule my time out that way so I can work around everything else I have going on. So I'm like, I'm doing much, much better with managing my time and managing my responsibilities that I accept.
And that, Vernetta, is what ambition looks like for you.
Yes.
See, whereas most oftentimes women are led to believe that ambition mirrors your plate running over. That's the only way they can be ambitious is if their
Busy.
calendar is full and, you know, they're running from here to there. No, that's not what that means. That just means it has a whole lot of stuff on your plate. That is,
you're just busyness. The
yes,
life of busy.
yes, exactly. You're just in motion. You know, with very little direction. You're moving, but if someone were to ask you what direction you were going in, you would be clueless.
Oh, my God, that just reminded me of this quote that Denzel Washington said when he was speaking at Tulane's, and I'm going to find it. Here it is. He was speaking at Tulane's graduation one year, and he said, don't confuse movement with progress.
There you go. If you want to start using my quote now instead of Denzel's, you can. I don't mind.
I'm like, we all know I love me some Denzel. But,
if you want to start using mine now, Bernetta, that's fine. You can. You can. It's okay.
But okay, so we're gonna wrap up because this is a great conversation. I mean, Donna and I could talk, you know, forever about this, but you know, we're gonna wrap up and we're gonna share our final takeaway from today's episode. So I'm gonna share first. Okay, so my final takeaway, and I'm going to have two. I'm going to have one for this episode, and then I'm going to have one for this season. So my final takeaway for this episode is you have to unlearn some behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
I never verbalized that, but when Donna said it, I'm like, that is exactly what I had to do in my therapy. I had to unlearn stuff so that I can learn how to be me. So that's what I learned in this episode. What I learned in this season is that it is okay to share your experience because your experience may help someone else. So season 1, season 2 have all been experiences that I've had, and I brought my friends on to kind of share their experience related to that topic. So I hope that my experience and their experiences have helped you in some way, you know, kind of get out of your mental, emotional or financial frustration and kind of get on a path of healing and a way to make sure that you are helping yourself be successful in the future. So those are my 2 takeaways. So, Donna, what's your final takeaway?
My final takeaway would be staying true to, the topic. I'm not angry, I'm ambitious. The fact remains this: it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to be criticized.
Yeah.
I mean, period, point blank. It does not matter what you do. You're going to be criticized for it regardless. So for me, I would rather be criticized for being who I genuinely am versus being criticized for being a fraud.
I like that. And once you've gotten out of your bondage, because I know some of the listeners, I know you're still in bondage and you may not see it, or you may feel that it's time to break through, but you don't know how. I really hope the suggestions and the questions that Donna and I shared with you guys are things that are steps you can take to break out of that bondage of living someone else's ambitious life that's not designed for you. To be okay with being ambitious and not letting other people stereotype it as being angry. So that is it for Season 2. Y'all, Season 2 is in the books, y'all. This has been A Toast to Truth with Vernetta R. Freeney. That's me chatting it up with my good friend Donna L. Johnson. And we talked about I'm not angry, I'm ambitious. Thank you all for listening to Season 2. And I hope you come back for Season 3. Listen to Season 1, Season 2. We've had a great time. Thank you, thank you, thank you.